Okay, so now it's time to establish the New World Order. Stalin, you're in charge of Eastern Europe. Now, we want you to let them all hold elections. Oh yes, of course, elections. And these elections will be free and fair, right? Oh yes, certainly, free and fair. Definitely free and fair. Communist, 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 communist. If that's not free and fair, I don't know what is.
Yeah, we are from Poland, as we said a couple of times before, and I must tell you that we picked the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Hello,
everyone.
guys. Oh, we always feel that each other.
Yeah, we didn't
should say first.
because I was still upset that you didn't let me put lipstick on you. Lip gloss, I'm sorry. So I was, yeah.
Hello, guys. This is Waldemar.
This is Weronika.
Yeah, and we are WW Reactions. And today we are continuing with the Oversimplified series. And this time it's Cold War.
Mm-hmm. Someone said, I think at least 2 people suggested that we watch this next.
Yeah,
Under our last video, not last video, the video about World War II. So we wanted to see that one as well.
Yeah, I think the suggestion was logical because it's what happens next after World War II. So it would make sense to continue with that and not with the Napoleonic Wars, for example. Or
Well, I was going to say that it was a very good and nice suggestion, but you're just going to say, well, it was just logical.
But yeah,
Thank you to the person who suggested
yeah,
it.
of course. Alright, so this is the Cold War, and the Cold War is, a subject I think that in school is, at least in the school, in schools in Poland.
I've never learned about it.
Where we learn history. You learn a bit, but it's mostly through the eyes of what happened to Poland, to the country, and in terms of the whole world. You have something, because I remember, for example, the salt deals.
Okay, yeah, a little bit.
Remember that were the deals about militarization of Russia and the USA. So, you remember stuff, you remember that there was a conflict in all the different areas of life, but this movie, because I will say that again, I already watched Oversimplified videos before, including this one. So this guy does really good job in this video,
Really?
giving you more context to the Cold War and bringing maybe not all the aspects, because this is the war that lasted for over 40 years. But he gives you a lot of angles.
Yeah, there was a lot of complex mind games and mechanics behind it, right?
And they were
Re-evaluating?
With each other.
Rivals.
Yeah, but
In rivalry?
Verb.
I don't know if there's a verb from rival. Rivalry? No, that's the adjective. I don't know, help us out. They were in opposition to each other?
Yes, but they were fighting with each other on different fronts. That's what I wanted to say. And it was not only military fronts, but also like science or space travels, or even chess, for example. Yeah. There was a big thing for USA and Russia especially.
What space travel?
Moon landings.
What moon landing?
So we are trying to do this content now. Last video in Oversimplified, we said that we are gonna be an educational channel, because we will throw some info in the description. So now we will be
Dead educational.
Alright. Let's begin?
Let's begin.
Alright.
I've decided that in order to sell more merch, I should do a face reveal wearing some of it. So are you ready? Here we go. Boom. New Minimalist and Cold War merch available now, and get the new limited edition Churchill character pin before it sells out, with more characters coming in the future. Link in the description down below. The year is 1917. Fighting rages on the Eastern Front of the First World War. Both Germany and Russia are on the brink of collapse. Soldier, I need you to bring me this man. Got it. Found him, sir. What? No, not Lenin. Lenin, the Russian communist. What? Why would I need a beetle? Lenin, the Russian communist. He was exiled to Switzerland. You know what? I'll do it myself.
Capitalism?
I never noticed that before.
Who wants to start a revolution?
I just wanted to say that, you may not like the country, Russia.
I know what you're gonna say.
But their anthem, this is one good anthem. If there were ever a good anthem, then it's the Russian. The La Marseillaise, it's close second. The French anthem. Yeah, the national song of country. Yeah, the French, the La Marseillaise is the close second, but the Russian one is so good.
I think you're just trying to fill the hole.
But not the current Russian one, but from the USSR period.
Yeah. Okay.
You wanted to say something?
I don't remember. Sorry.
Okay.
The Germans put Lenin on a train and sent him all the way back to Russia, hoping he and his mates would create an internal crisis. And create an internal crisis they did. The government was overthrown, and Lenin was in charge. He immediately pulled out of the First World War, made the country communist, started a 3-year-long civil war, got shot, broke the economy, caused a famine, and then he died. On his deathbed he said, "Hey man, tell whoever's in charge of giving people jobs not to let that jerk Stalin become the next leader. By the way, who did I put in charge of giving people jobs? That would be Stalin, sir."
I knew that, yeah.
You knew that? It's a true story, actually.
Stalin was a rising force in the Communist Party. He still had some opponents, but conveniently, all of them were arrested or disappeared. So that was lucky. And so Stalin took over. He implemented his 5-year plans, which transformed the country from an agriculture-based economy to an industrial one. And like Lenin before him, he reigned with terror. Anyone who dared criticize or oppose him would either be killed or left to rot in the horrendous Soviet work camps. Then a short man with a silly mustache tried to take over the world, punched the Russians all the way to Moscow, and then the Russians, with some help from their faithful ally, the Winter, punched them all the way back to Berlin. At this point, being allies, America, the UK, and the Soviet Union were good chums. They held a couple of conferences near the end of the war to decide what would happen next. Hey Stalin, after all your trials and tribulation, you must be pretty happy to be standing here in Berlin. Tsar Alexander made...
I wanted to say a curiosity about Churchill, because this man is a mystery for me, You watched him on these photos from the World War II, and you see this old man who is, fat, and he's smoking a cigar always, or drinking. And he looks like he's at the end of the line, but he lived another 20 years, I think, or even more, after the Second World War. And I read that his diet every day for almost all of his life was, alcohol and cigars, and he drank.
What was it? He told me how many bottles did they find?
Yeah.
That they calculated he on average drank more than 1 bottle a day? That's what he said?
Just of the champagne, I think.
Just the champagne, yeah.
But also he drank whiskey. He started the day with whiskey, and he ran the whole world. He ran the Great Britain during World War II being drunk.
Maybe that's the way to win. I don't know. And then there's me, I can't have half a beer. Maybe that's why I wouldn't be good at work.
Made it all the way to Paris. Hey, just give me a second. Hey man, I think something's up with Stalin. I know, right? What should we do? Shall I tell him about the bomb? Yeah, tell him about the bomb. That will scare him. So, we got this crazy new big A-bomb that can destroy an entire city in one go. Yes, my spies told me already. Oh wait, I meant to act surprised. Wow, that's amazing. He already knew. How? Am I sure I want to send nuclear secrets via unsecure public coffee shop Wi-Fi? Am I ever? Dude, use a VPN.
I was wondering if it's a flag.
VPNs, if, like me, you take internet safety seriously, then you need NordVPN. NordVPN hides your online activities from outside intruders, preventing anyone from stealing your personal data and stopping your service provider selling your data to advertisers. With over 5,000 servers in 62 countries, it allows you to surf the net anonymously and securely. And it's simple to use. With just a click of a button, you can connect to a server halfway across
the original creator, yeah.
I should pause, by the way, sorry.
But I don't know. See, because the original creator isn't going to get money from the ad being displayed on our channel, and I think the only way that would make sense we would leave it is if we would also put the link to his code, to NordVPN in our
Yeah,
description.
but the video is a couple of years old.
But the video is a couple of years old, so the
it's
code
already expired.
exactly,
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and for you, I think it might be boring for you to watch this ad because everyone. But to be honest, we can leave it, and then you can just skip it. And I think that's
You'll decide when you edit, or I will decide when I edit.
So let's just decide now that we will leave it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think because if someone wants to skip it, then he will. And that in that way, at least we are, showing the full video as it was originally.
Okay.
The world, even allowing you to access streaming services from that specific territory. Say, for example, you wanted to watch a certain oversimplified video that for some reason has been blocked in your country. With NordVPN, you can.
If you want to sponsor a channel with stunning 120 something subscribers.
Oh, by the time we put out this video, it might even be more than that.
Then let us
And
know.
I would also like to say that we do use NordVPN, so
All right, let's go.
It works seamlessly across PC, mobile, and tablet. Go to nordvpn.com/oversimplified to get an amazing 75% off. That's just $2.99 per month with an additional month free for a limited time. So again, that's nordvpn.com/oversimplified. Also in the
because this
description
video
box
is
down
so
below.
old, or do we
Now,
not
where
get a
were
good
we?
offer?
Oh yeah.
I don't remember.
Does the A stand for atomic or ass? Then America dropped their big A-bomb on Japan, and World War II officially came to an end. Hooray, we won! Okay, so now it's time to establish the New World Order. Stalin, you're in charge of Eastern Europe. Now, we want you to let them all hold elections. Oh yes, of course, elections. And these elections will be free and fair, right? Oh yes, certainly, free and fair. Definitely free and fair. Communist, 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 communist. If that's not free and fair, I don't know what is.
Yeah, we are from Poland, as we said a couple of times before, and I must tell you that we picked the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
And growing up in a country that was a former Eastern Bloc country, it's much different than what you experienced when you lived in a Western country. I mean, the quality of life during all those years that the country was under the Russian or communist influence, the quality of life changed so much on Western Europe and on Eastern Europe that the difference was staggering. When the Iron Curtain finally fell, I don't remember, I'm not that old, I don't remember the falling of the Iron Curtain, but I'm just saying that I remember the difference, the economical difference, and also the mental difference of people.
Yeah, I think we still have some old pictures of Stalin somewhere in my house. Because everyone had Stalin at their house. My grandmother had pictures of Stalin in her home. Yeah, and she always told me that they called him Uncle Stalin.
How old your grandmother was?
She was born in 1944.
Maybe.
Like even at school, they made them call him that in Poland.
I didn't hear that, to be honest. But it might
Maybe
be
it
true.
depends on the area as well, because we are from different parts of Poland.
Yeah, that's true.
Yours is more on the western side.
It's a big country.
Yeah.
Let's begin. Let's continue.
Throughout Eastern Europe, Soviet puppet governments were established as a buffer zone between the USSR and the West, with Churchill proclaiming an Iron Curtain had descended across the continent. The relationship between the old allies was deteriorating fast. Over the next few years, the British intervened in the Greek Civil War to prevent a communist takeover. In Turkey, the Russians began demanding more control of Turkey's sea access routes, which prompted the US to send their largest battleship to Turkey for a friendly visit. After World War II, Iran was now occupied by both the Soviets and the British, with an agreement to both pull out once the war was over. The British pulled out. Stalin was like, you know what? I think I might stick around. All in favor of kicking Russia out of Iran? You want to know something? You guys suck. Pressure from the UN forced the Soviets to leave, and with the establishment of NATO, the Soviets had no doubt that the West was out to encircle and destroy them. And America announced the Truman Doctrine, in which they basically said, those guys are not cool, cannot be trusted, and we will do everything we can to prevent the spread of communism around the world. Many viewed this moment as the official declaration of the Cold War. Back in Europe, everyone was living in a post-apocalyptic void brought on by the Second World War. Cities reduced to rubble, not enough food. It was terrible. This is great. The more they suffered, the more likely it is they'll turn to communism. Dude, you're really messed up. What's wrong with you? My father used to punish me severely. America realized what was going on and quickly made a move. Under the Marshall Plan, they sent $12 billion to Western Europe for its economic recovery. The countries of Stalin's Eastern Bloc looked on with envy. Hey, Czechoslovakia, you want to come get some economic aid? Yeah, but I have to check with my mom first. Sorry, America. I can't come. This was a full-on economic battle raging between capitalism and communism in Europe. If the Western nations developed faster and better than the East, that would be a defeat for Stalin. So he set up his own rival economic recovery plan, which he called Comecon, and he also set up Common Form, which gave him more political control over the Eastern Bloc. But nowhere did this economic battle rage harder than in the city of Berlin. Caught over 100 miles behind Soviet lines, the city had been divided up between the Allies. So he set up his own rival economic recovery plan, which he called Comecon, and he also set up Common Form, which gave him more political control.
Yeah, and now I see, a bit more independent. Yeah, because I wonder why I didn't saw the line going to the Yugoslavia. Yeah. This is Yugoslavia, right?
I think so, yeah.
And the small one here?
No idea. You know?
No. Actually, no. But
that
sorry.
That point?
I have no idea.
I think maybe.
I have no idea, really. Maybe let's not guess, because we might offend someone.
But this is because this is not how it looks right now, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, I wonder why there wasn't a line in that direction. But
yeah, but he says they're a bit more independent. Yeah.
But I didn't saw the subtitle.
Over the Eastern Bloc, but nowhere did this economic battle rage harder than in the city of Berlin. Caught over 100 miles behind Soviet lines, the city had been divided up between the Allies, and the western segments were still under Western control. East Berliners could travel freely to West Berlin, see the economic prosperity and think, maybe this communism thing ain't so great after all. I'm gonna have fun tonight.
I'm sorry, but I just wanted to say quickly that I remember when I was much younger, a child basically, but I knew about something about the Cold War and the Berlin Wall, and I always thought for some reason that if you have a map of Germany here, imagine that, then and I knew that there was East Germany and West Germany, and I always thought that the Berlin was lying, on the line that divided the country.
Okay.
And I thought that's why there was an East Berlin and West Berlin.
Okay.
And when I find out that the Berlin was actually lying in this hole on the east side, but only the city was divided, so there was like this tiny island of capitalism inside East Germany. I found it much more absurd it was already absurd, but it was much more when you imagine that. Like Free City of Berlin.
Free House City.
Free House City of Berlin, yeah. Lying in the sea of communism.
You're home late. Oh, Stalin. I was just out.
We should suppose to go back always.
To West Berlin, see the economic prosperity and think, maybe this communism thing ain't so great after all. I'm gonna have fun tonight. You're home late. Oh, Stalin. I was just out with my friends. Friends? You stink of capitalism! You're out engaging in imperialist debauchery again! I swear, Ivan, I can't keep doing this. Stalin wanted the West out, so he said, hey, guess what? I'm blockading all of your supply routes to West Berlin. What are you gonna do about it? I suppose we'll just fly the supplies in. Alright, Truman. You in this round. The Berlin airlift was an incredible undertaking and a major success for the Western Allies, and Stalin ended his blockade of West Berlin. His aggressive actions worried the West, but not as much as this did. The Soviet Union had developed their very own atomic bomb. The USA no longer had a nuclear monopoly. The world now knew that if a major war broke out between the two superpowers, it would be more destructive than anyone could imagine. So it was comforting when Stalin came out and said that war between the Soviet Union and the West was unlikely. Oh, wait, inevitable. He said it was inevitable. Hey, you know who I haven't checked in on in a while? My good friend China. Whoa, What happened to you? What happened to them was a full-blown civil war that had been going on since 1927. The People's Liberation Army, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, successfully defeated the Republic of China, who fled to Taiwan. The now communist China and the Soviet Union signed a mutual defense treaty. This was terrible news for the West. But wait. There's more. After the Second World War, Korea was divided along the 38th parallel. In the north, the Soviets set up a communist regime. In the south, America set up an anti-communist regime. Both were led by very sweet-looking old men, but don't let that deceive you. They were both ruthless dictators, and both dreamed of reuniting Korea under their own regime. Now that he had the bomb, Stalin was feeling a little more cocky, and he finally gave Kim permission to attack. The North launched a surprise invasion of the South on June 25th, 19...
How random this is. That no, it's a different thing kind of when you live in one country and, for example, your neighbor, has a better life than you. I mean, the neighboring country is richer than your country is. That's one thing. But, like, for example, with Korea or with Berlin or with whole Germany, it just, if you would be born like 20 kilometers that side or 20 kilometers that side, your life would be completely different. Like everything in your life.
Different system, different.
Yeah, everything. I mean,
economical status. You are at war with each other,
and you are speaking the same language.
Yeah.
They are the people. You can even have relatives on the other side.
Yeah.
And and
they used to live close, but now they live in the other country.
Yeah.
1950. With Soviet aid, the North Koreans steamrolled through, taking Seoul in just 3 days and replacing one ruthless dictator with another. The UN were freaking out and quickly created an emergency force made up of troops from 16 countries to defend the South. The West still held Busan and made landings at Incheon near Seoul. They pushed the North Koreans out of Seoul, replacing the ruthless dictator that had replaced the first ruthless dictator with the same ruthless dictator that had previously been replaced by the new ruthless dictator. And the West then continued all the way up the Korean peninsula. At this point, China was getting worried that the UN may just keep going. The US had sent this guy to lead the operation. After winning the Pacific theater of World War II, General Douglas MacArthur's head was big and his balls were bigger. He reassured President Truman that there was absolutely no way at all that the Chinese would ever get involved. Meanwhile, 500,000 Chinese troops were crossing into Korea. Nuke 'em. No. Nuke 'em. No. Ah, come on. You're fired. The US considered the nuclear option, but now that the Soviets also had the bomb, they didn't want to risk all-out global destruction. The communists pushed the West right back almost to the exact same spot they had all started from, and they ended up in a stalemate, where they remained until both sides finally agreed to work towards a peace settlement in 2018. Back in America, Americans decided they wanted a new president who would be tough on communism, so they elected famed World War II General Eisenhower, who was really hard to draw. It's 1953. Hey Stalin, how you doing? Oh, he's dead. He had a cerebral hemorrhage and his reign of terror kinda came back to bite him in the ass because he had imprisoned all of his best doctors and those that were left were too terrified to treat him.
There was more to that. I mean, maybe not that story, but when he suffered the stroke or the thing that he had, his guards probably heard him falling or else heard that something happened to him.
But they didn't come?
They didn't come because Stalin executed his previous guards for breaking his orders, kind of. I mean,
so it wasn't even that they were like, okay, maybe, hopefully, something's happening to him, but it was more like, we can't open this door because
we can open this door no matter what.
Okay.
No, even and he was probably lying there like, why did I do that? But he gave his previous guards mixed orders, kind of like he told them not to do something, and then he kind of insinuated that they should do that, and when they did that, he was like, "Oh, so you chose death." So, I mean, if there is some poetic justice, I think the death of Stalin is kind of a justice.
The new leader, Nikita Khrushchev, told him doctors, cerebral hemorrhage and his reign of terror kinda came back to bite him in the ass because he had imprisoned all of his best doctors and those that were left were too terrified to treat him. The new leader, Nikita Khrushchev, called a meeting and said, "Hey guys, you know how Stalin was imprisoning and murdering us all for doing basically nothing? Yeah, he was kind of a jerk. I'm really not sure how this is news to you." Khrushchev went on a campaign of de-Stalinization. Statues of Stalin were taken down, Stalingrad was renamed, and Khrushchev announced that he wanted the Soviet people to be happy and would allow greater freedom in the Soviet Union. So how did that work out? Well, an uprising in East Germany was brutally suppressed, a revolution in Hungary was brutally suppressed, and demonstrations in Poland were brutally suppressed. although he did finally allow some mild reforms. Back in the Soviet Union, he permitted more cultural expression, but then began banning stuff based on his own personal taste. Modern art looks like a child urinated on a canvas. Banned. Jazz music sounds like the feeling of needing to fart. Banned. Your poetry is really depressing. How could anyone in the Soviet Union be depressed? You're banned. Khrushchev wanted the Soviet people to be happy, but not like that. Or
I just wanted to read this poem because
I was sad, now I'm glad, life is bad, now I'm sad. Pretty much.
it's almost haiku.
It's not a haiku.
I mean, I know, almost. Haiku is what, 5, 7,
5, 7,
and
5.
Yeah, okay. It's just high, not haiku.
Cool. Okay.
Union be depressed. You're banned. Khrushchev wanted the Soviet people to be happy, but not like that, or that, or that. Young people began enjoying abhorrent Western pop culture. Son, remove that disgusting imperialist apparel at once. Shut up, Dad. You can't tell me what to do. Well, would you look at that? Turns out he can tell me what to do. The West had initially liked the cut of Khrushchev's jib, but world events soon soured relations even more. The two sides were spying on each other a whole lot throughout the Cold War. The KGB had spies and informants in nearly every aspect of Western life and government, so much so that whenever the US tried to send spies into the Soviet Union, the KGB were usually ready to arrest them on the spot. Members of the Manhattan Project aided the Soviet Union in acquiring the bomb. Some American officials believed they were on the wrong side. I'll sell you 3 secrets for $5 million. Okay. Go ahead. The Allies are digging a tunnel under East Berlin to tap your communications. There's an American agent living at this address in Moscow, and sometimes, when I'm home alone, I like to put on my wife's dresses, sit in the corner, and cry for hours. Very interesting. In America, fear took hold during the Red Scare and the McCarthy trials. American values imploded as fear of communism collided with freedom of thought and expression, and communist kind of became a buzzword thrown around to describe anything people didn't like. Hollywood? Communist. Your next door neighbor's dog? Communist. When the grocery store cashier asks if you need a bag when you clearly can't carry 10 tubs of baconaise in your hands, communist. But one area in particular where the US had an edge over the Soviet Union was in its espionage.
I don't know what is baconaise, but I guess it's like a mayonnaise with a taste of bacon.
Yeah.
I would like
Sounds
to try
good.
that. I would like to try that.
Technology. But one area in particular where the US had an edge over the Soviet Union was in its espionage technology. In particular, U-2 spy planes flew across Russia carrying out surveillance from the skies. There was a nasty incident in 1960 though, when one was shot down and Khrushchev was furious. Who the hell is this? He's a high-altitude weather enthusiast who flew off course. Okay, that sounds plausible. Wait a minute. Why does he have a gun and a poison needle? Because he's a very naughty high-altitude weather enthusiast. But much to America's concern, the Soviet Union appeared to be ahead in the space race. Everyone freaked out when Russia launched the world's first satellite, and then they actually sent a man into space. Even worse, there also appeared to be a missile gap in the Soviets' favor, and Khrushchev was so confident that he even allowed the US to set up a technology exhibit in Moscow, attended by a certain Vice President Richard Nixon. Check this out. We have color TV. Yes, but we've been to space and can obliterate you with our massive nuclear arsenal. Check out this vegetable peeler. Tensions increased further when both sides upgraded their atomic bombs to hydrogen bombs, and after West Germany was allowed to...
I think we learned about this, and I knew bits of this before, but because we watched Oppenheimer lately, it's also quite fresh in mind about all the bombs. That was also quite...
Yeah, there was some discussion. There was this guy in his team. I don't know how it was in reality, but in the movie, there was this guy in his team that was like pushing the idea of developing hydrogen bomb.
Yeah, just the general, the most common dilemma: do we get better weapons, and then they get even better weapons? Who has to stop at some point? And I think he was against the hydrogen bomb, right?
Who?
Oppenheimer? Wasn't he? I mean, not against, but I think he was highlighting that this is just taking the violence to the next step. But I don't remember.
It's a difficult topic. I don't remember if he was opposite of militarizing yourself with the bombs of much bigger.
I don't know if he was
destruction
opposing
capabilities.
militarizing, but I think he was like that. The people who he was talking to didn't. The government officially didn't really realize how much worse a hydrogen bomb is than an atomic bomb.
Yeah, that's true. But on the other hand, I mean, me personally, I think that it kind of worked. I mean, since the development of the atomic bomb, there hasn't been another world war. I mean, there are wars, of course, still, but after the Second World War, we had a relatively more peaceful time, and especially the global powers, which were USA and Russia, being so drastically different from each other in terms of politics and the views on everything, basically, that they didn't fight with each other just because they were scared of this mutual destruction that they could bring to each other.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, that's scary that we have bombs now that they can destroy not only cities but large parts of countries and even bring the world to end, but it kind of works, I think.
Yeah.
This scare.
Joined NATO in 1955, Khrushchev set up the Defensive Warsaw Pact, strengthening the military ties between the Soviet Union and its satellite states. In 1960, Americans decided they wanted a new president who would be tough on communism, so they elected John F. Kennedy. The Soviet Union was advancing its technology, but it was also bleeding its coffers dry, and all of the money was going towards the military, not the people. Life under communism was still as hard as ever, and Berlin remained a thorn in the Soviet side. The contrast between the economically prosperous West and the struggling East was clearer day by day, and East Berliners were still able to freely travel to the West. Now, many of them were deciding to stay there. Millions defected to West Germany via West Berlin, causing Eastern factories to lose workers and taking a heavy toll on the economy. Soviet leaders decided this couldn't continue any longer. First, Khrushchev tried this: leave West Berlin, or else. Or else what? Or else, I'll be really mad at you. Yeah, no, we're gonna stay. Listen, man, West Berlin is ours, East Berlin is yours. That's just how it is. Kennedy felt pretty good about his show of American resolve. But wait a second, did you catch that? Let's replay it.
East Berlin is yours.
Uh-oh, Kennedy just told Khrushchev that the USA wouldn't interfere in what the Soviets did with their section of Berlin, so Khrushchev came up with a new idea. We're gonna build a wall, and it's gonna be a big, beautiful wall, and it's gonna keep out all the Mexicans. Oh, sorry, it's gonna keep in all the Mexicans. On August 13th, 1961, Berliners woke up to find their city divided into two, with barbed wire and guards blocking the border between
Can you
East
imagine
and
that?
West. Over time, a wall was constructed throughout the city. Families...
No, but for me the most unimaginable thing is being one of the leaders or supporters of the Communist Party or communist system, and you see that people are basically getting away from your country in millions, and you're like, no, you don't appreciate how great this is.
Yeah, here's a wall. So
Here's a wall, so you can appreciate it more, because you just need to understand that it's for your good.
But did they really build it overnight? Blocked the part overnight?
It wasn't a wall. At the
Yeah, but
beginning.
they blocked it overnight. So what if you were at a sleepover with someone in the west part? Then you got to stay there, or they were deported back to their original parts.
I mean, if you wanted to go back, I think you could, because you had your address of.
Of
Of your
course
house where you
you
live.
could go back, but I wonder were you forced to go back?
I think the West Berliners didn't force East Berliners back.
Oh.
But for the West Berliners, I think it might have been an issue just to be located in East Berlin.
Yeah, well, they surely didn't want to be there.
Yeah, they didn't want to be there, and I don't think that East Berlin was so eager to allow them to come back, and especially since, as he just said, they didn't have enough workers.
Yeah.
But I don't know. If you are from Germany, for example, or you just know this topic more, then you may let us know, because that is interesting how it looked for the West Berliners who were forced to stay in East Berlin.
Cities were torn apart. Thousands would risk their lives escaping over the wall, and hundreds would die trying. To the despair of Berliners, the West were unable to do anything about it. But the wall did put on full display the failure of the communist system. As Kennedy said, democracy is not perfect, but we have never had to put a wall up to keep our people in. As part of the agreement between the two sides, US diplomats were still allowed to travel to East Berlin, but suddenly, East Berlin crossing guards started giving them the business, and Kennedy was like, nah-uh. In October, the US rolled tanks up to the crossing point at Checkpoint Charlie as a show of strength. The Soviets did the same, and the two were in a standoff. They stayed like that for 16 hours, and the world braced for nuclear Armageddon. Thankfully, though, Kennedy called Khrushchev directly and was like, "Hey man, this is getting way too hot. How about you back your tanks up by an inch and we'll do the same?" "Sounds good. Okay, how about you back your tanks up by another inch and we'll follow suit?" "Alright, hey, you want to do another inch?" And they both very slowly inched away from the apocalypse. Phew, let's hope that's the biggest crisis of my presidency. It wasn't.
Yeah. So what do you think? You
I'm
learned
following.
something new,
Yeah.
or you knew all that stuff before, or most of that stuff?
I mean, I think I knew most of this stuff, but it wasn't organized in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really good. Yeah. So it's good to see it explained like that from A to B. Yeah. I liked it. I liked all the videos so far. And it's I've been I've been thinking the other day doing something else, like trying to remember the videos, because I have problem like retaining history knowledge, and I think I remember things.
Yeah.
So that's really good because of the graphics and the sounds and the jokes,
Maybe
and because
we'll
we are
do
talking
some
about.
kind of quiz for you.
Oh, a quiz for me, maybe.
Of oversimplified knowledge. After we will, I don't know, finish some videos of his.
Can we stage it though, so that I can imagine, right? Because then, yeah.
We will see how it goes.
Okay.
if you will do good at the first try, then no. I
Okay, so guys, I will do good anyway, and it will either be staged, for honest.
No.
Do you like it?
Yeah, of
Do you
course.
remember everything, or is it pleasure?
Oh, I
Although,
watched-
is it nice to
I
watch?
watched those videos a couple of times just to, like you said, just to, remember it better.
Mm-hmm.
Because after one time, I don't think it sits with you completely.
Yeah.
But if you will rewatch it like 2 times more, then you really know. You remember not just the facts, but also the names and the faces. So next time you will see a guy with this kind of a mark on his head. That it's Gorbachev,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just easier to remember. Not also the flow of stuff, how the stuff was going on, but also the names, dates,
Right.
parts of Europe that it happened to.
Right.
All right, so that was Oversimplified Part 1, Cold War.
And we will watch the second part soon and upload it soon after. Maybe not the day after, but soon after.
Yeah, and sorry, we still don't remember to go back after we pause. We sometimes do, but we sometimes forget
We all
about it.
try to. It takes 21 days to make a habit, so.
Yeah?
Mm.
Okay, so we will have to suffer 21 days with that. Thank you very much
For watching.
for everything.
For everything.
everything. I thank you for everything you've done for us,
Yeah.
especially for the subscribers. So give us more.
So give us more, we're greedy.
Yeah, give us
And
more.
likes and comments and everything. Thank you very much in advance.
See you guys.
See you. Bye bye.